So we've been a lot of places the last few days. We've been at, big scales, microscopic scales, creativity. We've been dreaming. And what's happening at the Ray that Unwanna is going to tell us about is something very practical. We can leave here today knowing that we can do something today. And this is an example of that kind of project. So welcome.
I'm standing on the box. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here. I'm pretty new to biomimicry, also to transportation, and, just sharing this space with you all, knowledgeable, really connected people. It's an honor. So thank you for allowing me to share the stage. So my name is Unwanna Etuk, and I am the Ray's Partnership Coordinator and Research Analyst. I'm here to talk to you all about how today the Ray is transforming highways into a restorative infrastructure system. So our organization is a 501c3 nonprofit charity, and we're headquartered in Midtown Atlanta. But the Ray Highway is also the nation's premier testbed for cutting-edge technology and ideas that are making transportation more sustainable, regenerative, and safe. The Ray Highway spans 18 miles of Interstate 85 in West Georgia between LaGrange and the Georgia-Alabama state line. And this stretch of highway is very special because it's named in memory of Ray C. Anderson, who is the man who ignited a global movement towards sustainable business practice when he had the courage to ask, what if? And our story today starts here. Ray was a Georgia native who lived and worked in the communities that are located along the Ray Highway, and he risked his family's entire life savings to start Interface, if you guys are familiar, one of the world's leaders in designing and manufacturing carpet tiles. In the mid-1990s, before corporate sustainability and circular economy were really mainstream and at the forefront like they are today, Ray had this epiphany, and he describes it as a spear to the chest moment about the abuse of earth, about the death of birth, all this perpetuated by business as usual. Industry, Ray believed, was the most powerful institution on the planet and must take the lead to direct the planet away from human-made collapse. And while he is doing this, he's leading a company whose product is 90% oil-based petroleum. And it could be found still in near perfect condition after spending significant amounts of time in a landfill. That was, a marketing point. The carpet tiles will still be intact. But after that spear to the chest moment, Ray really risked everything again. He had grown it to be a $1 billion global business, so that he challenged Interface to pursue mission zero negative environmental impact on the planet. And while he was doing this, while Interface was making its moves and tracking results, Ray also documented over $3 million in savings for his business. So what he did for the world, Ray really proved that you can do well in business by doing good. And he didn't do all that himself. He knew he needed help. He was a businessman, so he gathered the cream of the crop of the world and developed his Eco Dream Team, which include the renowned Janine Benyes, that we just heard a little bit about. In the team meetings, he would turn to her and ask, how would nature create a carpet? How could a company function like a forest? You could walk outside, pick up one leaf from the forest floor, and it looked like hardly anything had changed. So Interface worked to bring the natural random order that you would see outside into the color palette for making carpet tiles. And this eliminated the need to cut them up into particular designs and eliminated a wide heap of waste that came associated with cutting the tiles. So biomimicry was a key methodology for Interface and helped them create a net positive company that works regeneratively. And as Janine remembers, to Ray, carpet was just a vehicle to change industry. And that's what he did for as long as he could. In 2011, Ray passed away from cancer, and his youngest daughter, Harriet, was approached by community who wanted to name a road after him in his name to honor his legacy. But with his great impact and his connection to West Georgia, he was born in West Point, built his companies or his factories in West Point and in LaGrange. Harriet thought we could do better than that. So she worked with Georgia lawmakers to name 18 miles of the interstate in his name. So after the dedication ceremony, she got home, and Harriet really had her own epiphany, just like her father, her own spirit for the just moments, thinking about this legacy of green business and sustainability just did not match up with a dirty highway. The transportation sector has the largest share of greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. today. People die on the roads every day or are injured. There's litter and pollution coming from highways. And so just like Ray, Harriet could not leave things as they were. And thus the Ray, our organization, was born. And it's born of the same question that Ray himself asked. What if we reimagine roads in a way that's safer, more regenerative to the climate, more responsive to the environment, and more capable for generating economic opportunity? So we have this vision of building a zero carbon, zero waste, zero death highway system, and we believe the technology already exists today to make this a reality. So the Ray Highway has become a proving ground for transportation infrastructure of the future. This is the Ray today. Over the past 6 years, we've built over a dozen projects all on and along a public, fully operational, high-speed interstate. We're deploying cutting-edge technology and proving out innovative transportation use cases, and this is really broad work. It's an ecosystem of technology. From a rollover tire safety check station to solar-powered EV charging stations to smart road striping. And what we've done on those 18 miles is made possible by our unique partnerships. And we have formal charters with the Georgia Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. And during the last couple of years, we've been striving to really share what we've done and accomplished and learned on the Ray Highway with others. So today, we are managing projects in 25 states with nearly 36 transportation agencies. And we work with our government partners through an expansion of the P3, the P4, public, private, and philanthropic partnerships. We leverage our philanthropy to help state DOTs try new technology and do that in the real world because it's really risky. But however, backed by our portfolio of successful projects, the Ray removes the barriers and helps quell the hesitation that comes with innovative and being an early mover. We scale up the technologies that we know can perform and succeed. And so this is how we have guided our partner agencies through their own successful project delivery. But each of our partners all across the states, they face unique circumstances and challenges. So the infrastructure projects that we export from the Ray in West Georgia, all across the country, they're different and varied. So in bringing to life our vision for zero in transportation, zero carbon, zero waste, and zero death, we focus on 3 key programming areas. Energy, we do a lot of work with solar and with EV charging. There's regeneration and circularity, so nature, technology, landscaping, sustainable materials, biomimicry, and safety. So a lot of connected and autonomous vehicles and smart road striping. So biomimicry is actually a new area that the Ray is starting to explore. We have partnered with a team of experts, some of which you have heard from or seen around this week. I'd like to take a second to shout out Deb Bidwell, Rich Author, Asha Singhal, McCall, Langford in the crowd. They've been leading us through discovery and have produced an amazing report that conducts biological research that works to help us achieve our mission. And biomimicry is really new to all of us on the Ray. We know transportation, we're working in technology, so to really give us a really deep understanding of the concept and increase our literacy, this biomimicry on the Ray team has helped us understand the state of practice and this concept better as it can apply to us. So right now, actually, we're nearing the end of a 15-week training course on all things biomimicry and how it can be applied to what we're doing here at the Ray. It's felt like maybe this one day, but it's spread over 15 weeks. I've learned just as much. But so now I think I will dive a little bit more into what we have done on the Ray and highlight a few pieces of our work, starting with the most impactful and in-demand services that we are offering states today. So that is our right-of-way solar work and our partnership with Esri. So we're analyzing the highway roadsides for solar development. And what you see here on the slide is exit 14 of the Ray. This is I-85, and what we've done is use our resources efficiently, as is very familiar in biomimicry. We've combined our abundance of sunshine in West Georgia with an asset that has not really been used to its highest use, empty roadside land. And we've combined them to give them a higher use. So what you see here is 5 acres of federally owned right-of-way that now hosts 2,600 solar panels and can generate a megawatt of solar energy. So just this one quadrant of the 4 different on-ramps and off-ramps here at this intersection can power almost 200 homes a year. So we wondered how much more renewable energy can be built along our roadsides. We had an initial study with University of Texas at Austin to look at all the different interstate intersections across the U.S., but we know that the right-of-way includes many more different types of land. On the Ray, we have our visitor center, for example. So we partnered with Esri to help us find out what can be hosted in terms of solar energy to a much more fine and comprehensive degree. So what Esri did for us is they gifted a configured right-of-way solar mapping tool, and it helps us analyze our GIS data sets that we get from DOTs so we can find the best locations that can support solar. So this tool rapidly speeds up the planning process for employees. It could take folks months, if not a year of full-time work just to assess one parcel of land and figure out how much solar you can put there. But what this does is it much more quickly and accurately estimates how much solar energy can be produced in all types of land, and along with the economic potential and value of that solar. So you can take a look at the prices in the states or in the counties and figure out what that energy is worth, in addition to the associated carbon savings for that identified solar. And each of these sites must have a ground cover or vegetative management plan. So instead of going with gravel or general turf grass, we went regenerative, we went restorative. So at the Ray, we use a low-growing, pollinator-friendly mix of seeds around the panels. You can see the before and after of exit 14 here. And in addition to building out new habitat, this also supports pollinators and nearby agriculture, but the deeper roots compared to turf grass, which you can see just the tiny little bit on the left is a couple of inches, compared to the native grasses and forbs that we have. This provides well-needed erosion control and stabilization. Additionally, whereas turf grass is generally mowed about every 6 weeks, you only have to mow these wildflowers about once or twice a year. So that cuts down a lot. So with these projects, the state departments of transportations win on day one. There are reduced roadside maintenance costs that are guaranteed, and these DOTs can also negotiate land fees or power purchase agreements for lower energy costs. And with installing the pollinator-friendly ground cover, they can also claw back the renewable energy credits with the solar for retiring or monetizing them. So roadside solar is just one strategy for DOTs to reduce costs, to reduce their obligations, and generate new revenue. It also helps diversify their transportation funding instead of relying on things like gas tax, but it also increases the productivity of their assets because this land is already developed and it's just sitting there. So this is a transformation of essentially nothing for transportation, but it turns into something very special for clean energy and agriculture. And it will generate benefits for 35 years. So in the South, it's something that we like to call a twofer, except way, way bigger. And so now I'll dive a little bit more into what we're doing, exploring on the ground for a minute. So we're all about scaling, and we're not just stopping at the plantings under our panels. We have this body of work called our landscape laboratory, and it's located at exit 6 of the Ray Highway. And here's a bit about what we're studying. So there's pollinator gardens and wildflower perennials, but also growing kernza, which is a perennial wheatgrass that you can utilize for different things. It can be edible. Though right now we're not using it for food on our roadsides, but you can turn it into textiles and fabrics if you want to create clothing or packaging. So using our roadsides for that. And we're also studying slope stabilization, which can cause erosion if they are not stabilized. So putting it into context, GDOT, the Georgia Department of Transportation, spends about $44 million a year just on maintaining roadsides. So that's mowing every 6 weeks or spraying insecticides, herbicides, all this for turf grass. So with this landscape lab, we're looking to reduce the costs, decrease emissions, sequester carbon, and also improve safety by decreasing the time that personnel is spending along this high-speed interstate. So this is us exploring ecosystem services, all of the restorative benefits with our pollinator plantings, but also including allowing for better infiltration and reducing point source storm water discharge. So another resource that is abundant in transportation is tires. And what the Ray is thinking about is what happens when we're done with those tires. So every year, Americans throw out 260 million tires, and some of them are dumped into illegal dumps like this, and they can lead to life-threatening fires and burn extremely hot and really difficult for firefighters to put out. And when they're not burning in these dumps, they can provide a comfortable habitat for mosquitoes and rodents that carry and spread dangerous diseases. So, like carpet tiles, scrap tiles are persistent in landfills for 100 years or more. But we can actually use these as a resource and upscale scrap tires into rubber roads. That'll eliminate a source of pollution and single use and also promote circularity. And using them as a product, we can also pave resilient roads. So rubberized asphalt or rubber modified asphalt. We've done this in Troup County and also along the Ray Highway. So we have 4 main lane miles in each instance, plus the rest area at the state line on the Ray. So just in these 2 small pilot projects, we have turned 80,000 pounds of scrap tires into a better road. And how do we know that adding rubber to asphalt is beneficial? So the Ray, the U.S. Tire Manufacturer Association, and the University of Missouri teamed up to find out the state of knowledge. It's a single inventory of best-in-class safety, performance, and environmental and economic research that also helps identify existing data gaps. So going over some of the beneficial aspects identified in this report on the environmental and sustainability side, you can tell that there are reductions in carbon emissions from rubberized asphalt, ozone and water depletion, but also rubberized roads are quieter. They reduce the noise and also rolling resistance, so that leads to fuel savings. And rubberized asphalt also extends the pavement life by reducing cracking and rutting. It can last up to two times as long as traditional asphalt. And it also improves tire grip and reduces hydroplaning when you're driving in wet conditions. So it's also an economically beneficial technology because the dry process, which is using scrap tires as an aggregate for the asphalt, is less expensive than traditional asphalt. And the thinner design provides comparable performance, all at a cost that's 40 to 50% lower. Additionally, there is a 2008 Cal Recycle study that shows evidence of a system of tire-derived aggregate and soil together can remove multiple pollutants from urban stormwater runoff. So this is a responsible restorative method of recycling scrap tires. So with all that we've done on the Ray, why start to explore biomimicry and consider adding this lens to our arsenal of work? Well, looking at the Ray's mission, the Ray is dedicated to reimagining the way we connect our lives, our community, and our world. So biomimicry simply aligns with what we want on so many different paths. And there's this quote by Janine Benyus that sums it up well. The truth is that natural organisms have managed to do everything that we want to do without guzzling fossil fuels, polluting the planet, or mortgaging the future. And she takes us back to Ray and his eco dream team. And that's where it all started for us. Ray found great success and innovation through biomimicry, and we want to do the same for transportation that he did for manufacturing and industry. Innovate, change the facts on the ground, and spread the word to get folks to do the same. So thank you very much. And these are some of our partners.
Isaac.
Yeah. Just a quick one, if you happen to know off the top of your head a guesstimate. How many miles of road can we do with 200 million tires a year, roughly, if everyone's done that?
I don't think she's an accountant, Isaac.
Many, many miles of road.
Nice. Pretty many.
There we go. Just wanted to hear more about the nature of the rubberized asphalt. Like with that graphic, it looked like it was loose, but I didn't know if that was just kind of illustrating an idea. Like, does it sit loose on top of the surface? Is it all baked in the tar? And how does it work?
Yeah. It's not loose like the graphic. It's kind of a way to show that the tires go right back into the asphalt itself. Well, actually, the aggregate portion, when we give tours, we like to carry on this bag of tire scraps that have been turned into aggregate, and many people look at it and think it's dog food. So it is loose in that nature, but then it's broken down and it is used with a binder to turn into what we traditionally see as very smooth asphalt.
Thank you. Great presentation. How does a community catalyze a program like this in their own community? Do you need a super wealthy dude to get this program started? Or, what would be your thoughts on how to engage with citizens and Department of Transportation with any guidance?
Yeah, so that's something that's particularly, in my heart, as specifically tied to the community. We have a robust internship program that may not be the first thing you think of, but we're actually a really small team, and we have local students help us do this work every day. We also have a pretty strong presence in the community, just socializing what we're doing since there is a visitor center, since we're right at the state line. So there's a lot to normalize and socialize. It really starts with changing hearts and minds because these technologies are out there. And what we're doing is proving that they work because transportation has been largely operating or at least the interstates have been largely operating the same way for 75 years. So it's very, we have to be very dedicated to change these things. But specifically what any person can do when we're out tabling or giving tours, we start with the land and actually pass out seed mixes of the flowers that we plant along the medians and under our panels to start creating pollinator habitat. When you think highways and transportation, you most often go straight to cars, but that turf grass road or land that's all along the roadside, that is a huge asset, a huge stranded asset. So we start there by building habitat and increasing carbon sequestration potential.
Yeah. If Ohio wanted to do one of these projects, what would that roadmap look like?
Yeah, so how we partner with different state agencies or different transportation agencies and state DOTs is we start having visioning sessions with the partners, see what the circumstances like, what are your priorities, what's the policy like and the regulations like. Everything is different depending on the state that you go into. So we kind of play like a matchmaker role. The Ray is kind of a conduit between different private technology and the states. So we identify what will work best or what you're most excited about and help guide you through project delivery in that way. So, and everything we do is through the lens of zero carbon, zero waste, and zero death on the highways. So that's how it can get started. I mean, it can be easy as, me giving you my email and we set up a Zoom call next week. So
When states are looking at these projects, what is the most common source of funding and incentive that they're able to get to set these up on their roadways?
Yeah, so many different states already have greenhouse gas targets or renewable energy targets. And so we work from that angle first. That's why solar right now is the most in demand. And a lot of it is that folks don't know where to start, which is also where the solar mapping tool comes into play. All we do is get your GIS data sets and say, hey, these places look good. They're facing south. They get a lot of solar radiation. They're flat. So here's where you can get started.
And then when they're harvesting the energy, what's the most common use that you see? Is it building harvest to resell, or are they actually powering homes with clean energy and doing it with local utility companies?
Yeah, so that can really, it works out with whatever the DOT or agency wants to do. So our installation on the Ray is grid tied, so it goes back to Georgia Power, and actually consumers can opt into using the clean energy and larger grid. But we also like to promote using the energy locally. So we have a smaller array at the visitor center, a solar tree that actually powers our DC fast EV charger that we have, and it's more efficient the closer that you use it. So you can really set it up in whatever way you want. You can lease the land if you really want to have a hands-off approach, but gain revenue, or use the land as you wish, or use the solar as you wish.
I think this has been great. Thank you so much, Unwanna.
Thank you.